It is that time again. Headphone highlights. Camera's a little off. That's okay. So really quick, before we get into the actual headphone of the week. Hello, helicopter. Great timing. A fun little thing came in the mail. Ta-da! This is the Dakoni Headphone Savior Bag. Ho ho, look at that. It is a canvas bag to carry your headphones, and that is the purpose of this thing. It's a nice little bag. It's got just some, nice little leather. They're not real leather, I don't think. Zipper handles. Here's your inside. I'll take the strap out. But yeah, you just kind of toss your headphones in there. Got your headphones. Here, take them with you. Travel around with them. Wow. It's got a little bag in here to carry your cables. Actually, another zipper pouch in the front here. There you go. Yep. It's a bag. It's a headphone bag. Let's see how it works. Here we go. You know what? I'll pack away these HE4XXs. Come here, you. Hey, I'm gonna go traveling. I'm gonna go ride the plane down to the other side of the country, and I'm gonna want to listen to my open back headphones on the plane. That's a brilliant idea. I better take them in my bag. Here we go. And they're kind of jamming them in there, and hold on. Do a quick little adjustment here. There we go. That should do it. And yep, voila. Cool, there we go. We got our headphones in the bag now. All right, that's neat. I had some extra purchase points with Drop that were getting ready to expire, and I had to do something with them, and this was kind of the only thing on the site that I was like, yeah, sure, okay, why not? So, there you go. Dakoni Headphone Savior Carrying Bag. It's pretty cool. Like, it's not the most portable thing in the world. I mean, it's pretty... whatever. Anyway, what we are here to talk about is a very interesting headphone. So, the last couple of headphones that we looked at were Bluetooth noise-canceling headphones. The same reason you got a pair of DT990s from Drop, just extra rewards saved up. Yep. That's like the one really nice thing about Drop is you could save your points and you just can splurge once in a while. Like once a year for me, it seems like I get to like have enough points to get something I wouldn't normally get for myself. So, but yeah, okay. Last couple headphones we've been talking about have been Bluetooth headphones. We talked about the Hi-Fi Swans. We talked about the Sonys. And something that I mentioned in the Sony video is that audiophiles, big audio nerds like, well, I'm not like myself because I don't necessarily agree with this, but a lot of audio nerds have the generalization that Bluetooth headphones just don't sound good, and they don't have the performance ability to produce audiophile grade sound. And you are sacrificing that performance for the convenience of them being wireless and very portable, and also feature filled, right? A lot of those headphones have lots of tech in them, especially like the Sonys do. So you're sacrificing audio performance for other features and other conveniences. And that obviously the ideal would be to have a Bluetooth headphone that you could take with you on the plane, on the bus, whatever, to travel with much like you do with these Bluetooth headphones, that also happens to have audiophile grade sound performance. That was the holy grail that people were like, oh, we hope we get that one day. Well, in those dark times of Bluetooth headphones that didn't meet the audio requirements of audiophiles, a hero was born. The legend started to whisper through the skies and through the ears of all the audio nerds in the world, or at least online. Whispers of a Bluetooth headphone with THX built-in amplification, purposely tuned and manufactured with the audiophile sound signature in mind. Presented to you in a small form factor Bluetooth wireless headphone. Enters this. The Drop Panda. The THX Panda. This was a headphone marketed specifically at audiophiles for being the answer to a Bluetooth headphone that can have audiophile grade performance in terms of sound. And it was crazy hype for this thing. It started out as a Indiegogo campaign, which is a little strange because Drop was not, you know, they're a pretty large company, even at the time. But yeah, this was an Indiegogo campaign, and I did, at the time, support the Indiegogo campaign to get this pair right here. So I was one of the first to receive the first wave. And yeah, it's an interesting story with these. So let's take a quick tour of the build. It is plastic. That shouldn't be a surprise. It's very good plastic, very high quality. It's very robust feeling. It's very firm. Nothing feels cheap. Nothing feels like it's going to snap on you. And it has this nice satin finish, as you can probably see there with the light. The whole headphone is just satin black. It's a nice, sleek, simple, very simple, no branding, which I like. A very simple headphone in terms of its design. Getting a closer look here. Like I said, nice satin finish on the paint, on the plastics. You have your yokes, which are they actually metal, the yokes? So there's a metal bar here underneath, but it is wrapped in this satin plastic. So the yoke allows the headphone to tilt all the way flat if you want to. So you can kind of have it packed in this way in your carrying case, which it did come with. Show that off really quick. Here's the carrying case it came with. It's a decent case. It looks a little big, but this way it's not too bad. It's pretty thin because the headphones can fold flat like that. So it wasn't too difficult to kind of just tuck this into like the back pocket of your backpack. And then inside, you got your booklets. We also have a nice little seating. It's hard to see because it's all black, but there you go. Perfectly easy to sit them down in there, and you have this nice little flap here to store your cables. Okay. On the inside, there's no bag or anything. It's just more flat. Nice, kind of a nice soft felt on the inside to keep them protected. It's a hard shell case. It's not like super hard. It gives a little bit. See there? But it's a good case. This is one of the better cases I think I've seen a headphone of this this tier. So good case. It's quite a bit larger than, say, the case that the Sonys came in, but the Sonys, if you can remember, didn't just fold flat, they also folded in on themselves. So they actually were allowed, or they had more capability to be cramped up a little bit more so than the Pandas here. Nonetheless, it's a good yoke, good construction on the yoke. It's this nice, satisfying, slow movement to get it to turn here. It doesn't feel like it's like gonna wobble around. Again, kind of a, I think, acoustic choice. If there's a lot of moving, rattling parts, that's going to be detrimental to the sound. So they made an effort to make any moving parts move very, very fluidly. The cups also do bend just slightly inward. So when you put them on your head, they will form a little bit. The yoke that then goes into the headband here, which does have a very simple clicking mechanism to adjust it. And then the headband itself, very, very simple. It's just a big black blob of plastic. And the underside of it is like a silicone, soft silicone. There's not a whole lot of cushioning, as you can see. But the silicone does go all the way to the edge of the yoke, so it is going completely around your head. So that's nice. The pads are pretty nice. These are protein leather pads. If I remember correctly, this actually... Maybe, I don't think mine did. I don't think the first run did. But either later runs came with a second pair of pads, or you could buy a replacement set of pads of different kinds of pads later on. But these pads are removable. They do have... It is technically a kind of third-party attachment, proprietary attachment, but it's not like... Let's see if I can show this to you. They're really not the easiest to get off. That was really easy to get off. Never mind. So yeah, you have a little bit of a click-in system here. Come on, there you go. So it's a little unique, I guess. But I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. There's your driver. You notice all that crazy foam, like laser cut precision on the foam there. The tuning and machining on these was very advertised as being very, very precise. They were really, really trying very, very hard to sell the fact that these are audiophile headphones. They're built like audiophile headphones. So, great. The pads themselves, they're not the thickest, but they are very, very soft. Very, very soft to the feel. And they're not the largest either, though they are significantly larger than those Swans are. We're looking at a full 3-knuckle high and a good solid 2-knuckle wide. And because the drivers do kind of go at a little bit of an angle like that, it is pretty easy to get them to kind of just form onto your ear like that. It's really not a big deal. Take a look at the ports we got here. We got some ports to talk about. So you do not have to listen to these wirelessly. There is a 3.5mm port right there on the bottom. So if you want to, you can plug them in and listen to your audio source, which I have been doing. I have them plugged into my Topping A90 and D90. On the other side, you have your... Bring this up close to you again. Come on. There you go. USB-C for charging. This also worked as a pass-through for the audio. So you could have the USB connected to a laptop or computer that didn't have a 3.5mm jack. You could connect via USB using the USB-C port. That little dot right there was your LED light indicator. That is the only indicator that you got about the status of the headphone. Is it on? Is it synced? Is it charging? Everything will be right there. And then you have this little nub. It's an actual nub. You can move it around like a joystick, up, down, left, right, and then whichever which way. And this little nub did all the interfacing, all the pause, play, skip, volume up, volume down, whatever. This little nub did it all. You could push it in like a button. It did a lot. And that makes for a very simple user experience. Because one of the bigger complaints I have with most Bluetooth headphones like this is they usually come with a plethora of buttons on the the driver housings, and it's like I don't know what button does what. So it's nice that we just have one button to worry about. That's very nice. So yeah, there's your build. It's a good build. They're built very well, in my opinion. Also can see there maybe. I believe those are microphones. Yeah, I believe those are little microphones right there. I couldn't really tell you what they're for, because these are not active noise canceling headphones. So that's a distinction that's important. Unlike the Swans and unlike the Sony XM-W1000s, did I say that right? Whatever. They're not active noise canceling, so there's not tech in here that is going out of its way to, you know, sample your ambient sound and eliminate it from your headset. But they are very, very good at passive noise isolation. So I put these on, and that is a hell of a seal. I can't hear hardly anything. My fan is really the only thing I can just barely hear, and even then, it's hardly noticeable. So that the passive noise isolation on these was very, very, very good. There was some disappointment that they weren't active noise canceling, because that would be, you know, the penultimate goal is to have a audiophile active noise canceling headphone. But, you know, they took a step down. We're just not focus on having an audiophile, but that's an audiophile grade Bluetooth headphone. Fine. But yes, so they are a closed back dynamic driver. Are they dynamic drivers? Pretty sure they're dynamic drivers. I can't really look it up. We'll get back to that. But yes, very, very good noise isolation on these. The comfort is pretty impressive. This headband, even though it doesn't have a lot of cushioning, it's plenty. It's perfect, perfectly satisfactory amount of cushioning on the head. I'm not getting any hot spots or pressure points on the top of my head here. I'm not getting anything on the side of my head at all. It's not even hardly touching it. It's pretty evenly distributed, and the silicone is soft and pliable enough that it's not like, you know, pushing down on me. There is clamp force on the ears, which there has to be for these to be as for the seal of these to be as good as they are. So there's a good amount of clamp force. But the pads are very, very soft, so it's not a very fatiguing clamp force. And because they're not huge, they're not gigantic chassis for the driver. It's not like they're reaching down into your jawline or anything like that. So none of the pressure of the clamp force, at least for me, is affecting the comfort of my jawline or my ear area. I'm not getting any kind of pressure points or discomfort, even when I'm wearing glasses. So the comfort's actually pretty darn good. In terms of our comfort cloud scale, everyone get ready to hit those new emotes if you got them. I'm gonna give these an 8. These have an 8 comfort clouds. So hit those 8 comfort cloud emotes for me. So they're very, very comfortable. That's a really high number for a Bluetooth headphone like this, in my opinion. So good comfort. So the comfort's great. The build's great. The sound. Let me reiterate. There we go. Thank you, Rye. Hooray. These were marketed very aggressively to be audiophile grade sound. That was their whole thing. A Bluetooth headphone that audiophiles will like. And I'm going to do my best to describe the sound here, but there is a caveat to this. The caveat being that these did sound different when connected Bluetooth versus connected wired. So having them wired in gave you a different result than having them connected Bluetooth. And the reason for that is that when you connect these wired, it's just a pass-through. It just takes whatever the source is and passes it through right to the drivers. Okay? If you played them connected Bluetooth without the wire, that's when it activates the built-in THX amplifier. So there's a built-in amplifier in here by THX, who at this point, you know, the THX AAA 789, I think I said that right, was already really, really popular and changing a lot of stuff in the audio sphere. So it was a big deal for these to have built-in THX amplifiers, and it did affect the sound. Unfortunately, I am unable to use these Bluetooth anymore. The battery, I assume the battery has died. I can no longer charge these. They will not hold a charge. They won't even indicate that they are charging anymore. I can only use these with the pass-through. So I want to get that out there. I'll do my best to try to remember how they did sound when they did work, but it has been a few years. So wired in, it is a very analytical sound. Very flat and even. Very neutral. Almost excruciatingly neutral, not to the same level of, say, the Ether CX closed, but still extremely neutral sounding, extremely flat. So you're not getting a whole lot of dynamics. You're not getting a whole lot of flavored excitement in any particular range. Everything just sounds very even and very true, very natural sounding, I suppose. With probably the exception of the low end. I would argue that these are fairly light with the low end. I think that even at neutral, a neutral low end has a bit more punch than what these are providing when wired in. However, with the THX amplifiers, if you have listened to them Bluetooth, I do definitely remember there being more low end in that scenario. All that being said, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me continue. You do get a little bit of soundstage. It's not super narrow, but neither is it super wide. I'd say it's on par with the Sonys. The Sonys, these are probably a little bit wider than the Sonys, just a smidge wider. If the Sonys sound like everything is about 2 feet away from you, these sound like everything's about 3 feet away from you. So fairly decent soundstage for a closed back Bluetooth headphone that has really impressive noise isolation. Vocals are very clear, not flavored, and the treble range is bright without being very fatiguing. There's not a tremendous amount of detail in the treble, but it is significantly more detail in the treble range than what you were getting in, say, the Sonys or those Swans. So you are getting a much more detailed and a much more analytical sound out of the Pandas than you do with a lot of these other, well, Swan's not maybe name brand, big brand, but Sony certainly is. These big brand, huge company Bluetooth headphones. Yes, more detail. Yes, more analytical sound. That being said, people were complaining about it. We're going on a we're going down a little story trail right now. People complained about it. They said it was too boring. It just was too flat, too boring. There's no low end. People didn't like it. And Drop, in an effort to fix that, did something a little unique. They released a standalone third-party, what would you call it? Their own launcher, their own like third-party app launcher, just for these headphones, just for these, to give them a firmware update. And the firmware update was intended to, one, hopefully improve some of the sound at default, but also to improve some of the kind of problems that they were seeing. I'll get back to that. They were getting some complaints, but we'll get back to it. And along with this firmware update app, they also they developed a partnership with, let me grab it really quick because I don't remember. They developed a partnership with Sound ID. So rather than this having its own phone app to like do like EQing with and adjusting the sound frequencies, they partnered with this other third-party app source. And with that, the intent and the hope was through the firmware update and through this now third-party app you could have on your phone, you could really kind of fine-tune the sound even more and potentially get more what people were maybe expecting when they, paid money for these, when they bought these and when they backed it up on the Indiegogo. Let me take a drink here. So, I mentioned that they were getting complaints. Okay. Yes, people were complaining about the sound. But people were also complaining about other things. People were having some, what do you call it? Not build quality issues, but, it's going to come to me later. But basically, there was a number of people having hardware problems with these. Maybe like the left or right channel driver would just stop working, or the battery would stop working, like what's happened to me. And it just kind of kept piling and piling. More and more problems were coming. Quality control, that was it. They were having quality control problems. So one of the things they were hoping would help with the quality control was this whole firmware update and third-party app thing. They're hoping with all this other, with that update in the firmware, it would fix a lot of the internal problems. And I think to a certain degree it did. But they kept getting more and more complaints. More and more problems were happening. More and more hardware failures. More and more complaints. And unfortunately, before I say, when I brought these out to try to do my headphone highlight about them, like all those other Bluetooth headphones that we already talked about was a lead up to this. This is what I was leading up to. That was my whole point. And I didn't realize until I brought these out for the headphone highlights that the Bluetooth wasn't working and the battery wasn't charging. So that was a big surprise to me. They were working just fine for me up until 2 or 3 weeks ago, however long it's been. And I reached out to Drop because I am still under warranty on these. There was a 2-year warranty on these, and I'm still under that warranty. So I reached out to Drop asking, what do I do? What can I do? And they're like, oh, well, there's nothing you can really do. It sounds like the battery is dead. We can't send you a replacement battery for you to, fix it yourself. Like, okay, well, so can I just get a replacement? And that's when I found out, no, I couldn't get a replacement because, sadly, the Drop THX Panda has been discontinued. And it has been discontinued because of all the problems they were having. All those complaints about the hardware, about the software, about the sound. It just kept coming and coming and coming, and dropped the Panda. The hero has fallen. I'm sorry to say. These are no longer available. Really, the only way you're going to be able to buy these is used, because Drop no longer supplies them. And fortunately for me, while they can't send me a replacement or send me a battery to replace myself, which even if they did, I would have to literally tear out the foam to get to the battery and pretty much ruin all the tuning anyway. Hey there, Ginger. How's it going, buddy? I'm doing pretty good. We're about finished with this headphone highlight. So yeah, even if they did some of the battery, I'd have to tear up the foam and all the dampening and ruin the tuning. So fortunately for me, they are, because it's still under warranty, able to give me the refund for these. So that's what this is all about. That's why we're talking about them right now. Even though they don't work the way they're supposed to, is because this is going to be the last time I listen to these. After today, starting tomorrow, I'm going to put these in a box and ship them back to Drop for a refund. So we are giving our send-off. We are saluting. You know, Panda, you were supposed to be the great hero of our time, the Bluetooth headphone for audiophiles, to break the mold. But unfortunately, you just weren't really up to the task. It's sad, because it really did seem like they were doing something special with this, and I think to a certain degree they kind of did. Because it did have it had some really good merits, at least in some areas. But overall, it just disappointed too many people, and then just kind of vanished into obscurity. So, thank you, Pandas. Sorry you couldn't, you know, whatever. I'm gonna tuck these away now. All the way, there they are. That's the last time we're ever gonna see them, or we're ever gonna hear them. Mwah. Good night, Pandas. Raid hype? What? Oh, Tenacious T with the raid. Wow. Hello. Thank you, Tenacious. You all raided just in time for me to end this headphone highlight on a kind of a sad note. These are the Drop Pandas. They were a very popular Bluetooth headphone. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the follow, Sasmara. Look how happy you made Sonic over there. These were a Bluetooth headphone for audiophiles, which unfortunately got discontinued recently. And I'm kind of giving them a send-off. Like, you know, thank you for your service. We're sorry to see you go. So, anyway, that's the headphone highlight. We're saying goodbye to the Pandas, and that's that.